The validation rule in Excel allows you to control a user's input into a cell or a range of cells. For example, I have the expense report here for Q1 for my 3 employees, and I want to be able to say that we're not going to reimburse them on any expenses over $1,000 for airfare, car rental, meals, and so forth. So to be able to control that or prevent them from entering in more than $1,000, I'm going to apply a validation rule. To do so, I'm going to select the range I want to apply this rule to, click on the Data tab, go to the Data Tools group, and then click on the Data Validation button. By default, all the Excels in your workbook allows you to type in anything. I'm going to change that and say it's got to be a decimal because we're dealing not only with dollars but also cents, anything after the decimal. It's going to be a number between the minimum 0 if they want to expense nothing all the way up to the maximum 1,000. I also have additional options that are checked, the input message and error alert. Now the input message is something that when they click within the cells, it says here when a cell is selected, show this message. Something that lets them know that what they're going to be typing within these cells. There's the title, now a little bit more detailed. Could be that basic. Now if they go ahead and they try to enter in anything over 1,000, I want to be able to give them an error. And there's 3 types of errors. They have the stop, warning, and information. Stop will actually prevent them from entering in the information. It'll force them to type in something less than 1,000. A warning will say, okay, look, you shouldn't really be doing this, but they can bypass it and still enter in anything over 1,000, which may come in handy because maybe if they do get management approval, I want to allow them to input something over 1,000 and not really micromanage that too much, but at least give them a warning saying, look, remember, we don't reimburse anybody over $1,000. So first we'll show you what a stop looks like, and we'll type in a message here that lets them know that we don't accept anything over 1,000 without management approval, versus not having an error alert and they come back a week later saying, oh, I couldn't expense anything because your workbook is broken because I kept trying to enter in over $1,000 and it just prevented me. This way they get a message that lets them know that that's not going to happen without management approval. Something like, then when I'm finished, go ahead and click OK. Now like I said, on one of the tabs was the input message, so anywhere I click within the range here that we applied the data validation rule to, I get this little pop-up that lets me know, hey, this is the expense amount cell. If I click off, it disappears. Click back in, and if I'm trying to enter in the expenses and I'm Mr. Humphreys, I can type in something over $1,000 and hit enter. And I get the invalid data. You must enter in a value under 1,000. So I can click retry and keep trying to enter that in, or click cancel and it gets rid of it completely. So that way it prevents me from entering in the incorrect data. Again, it's validating the data to make sure it fits what I specified in the criteria. Now we can make a few changes here, like let's say I don't like the pop-up, that annoys me. I'm going to go ahead and select the range again that I applied it to in the first place, and to edit it, just go back and click on the data validation button again. I can change this instead of a stop to a warning. It just gives you a warning, but you can still bypass it and enter in something over 2,000. I can also get rid of the input message by unchecking that. Click OK, it's gone. Now let's go ahead and type in something over 1,000, hit enter. Okay, it says, look, here's a warning, it's invalid, but you can go ahead and continue and it'll accept it. Next I want to talk about a drop-down list that you can create from a data validation rule. In other words, I have departments. Anytime somebody's filling out the expense report, it's going to be for a specific department. So what I want to do is click up here, a drop-down arrow that's based upon some data that I've typed down here. Now notice when I select this data range up in the name box, it's department. If you watch a training video on creating named ranges, you'll remember what this is all about. And again, it means that I can go ahead and click and drag and give this range a name, instead of it just being, in this case, B17 through C21. But assuming you watched a training video on how to create named ranges, if not, go watch it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the data validation rule again to this range. Click up here. This is where I want the drop-down arrow to be, is next to the title here, department. Click on data validation, go to my settings tab, change it from any value down to list, and then it says where's the source of your list. Click on the collapse dialog box button, and I can click and drag and select the range. The moment I select it, notice how it's referring to the actual name of the range, department, D-E-P-T. Well, let me expand that. Instead of actually selecting it, I could just actually delete it and type it in myself, equals D-E-P-T, because that's the name of the range. Now the reason why I do that is because, first of all, you don't have to have your source here just right underneath your database. You can actually have your source on column IV all the way over to the right and on row 20,000. And instead of scrolling all the way down to row 20,000 and clicking and dragging, selecting the range, if you already gave it a name, a named range, you can just go ahead and type it in here. It doesn't even have to be a named range. You could just say equals, if you recall it, A, in this case 17 through A21. Like I said, it's a little bit easier for me to remember a name that I've given a range, a cell, or a range of cells than to actually type in, like, let's see, was it Q15 through Z21? No, that doesn't work. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and type in the named range that I gave it, make it a little bit easier on myself, and then click OK. There's my drop down arrow, click on it, and it's referring to my data source here, the range of cells, which again, when you select it down here, it's the department range. You'll notice when I click out of the cell, I wouldn't know that there's a drop down arrow until I actually click back within the cell, and then I can go ahead and choose from one of them there. Click off in a blank area. The last one I'm going to cover here is the actual length of the text. For example, I have the destination for these expenses. So let's say for states like New York, California, Utah. And what I want to do is I don't want them to type in the whole name of the state. I just want the abbreviation, the 2 letters, for Utah, UT, for California, CA. So what I want to do is I want to put a validation on it just to accept 2 characters only. Click on the data validation again, click on the drop down arrow. We're going to go for text length. It's got to be between 0 and 2. And then I can give them an input message here that just says, look, I want 2 characters, not the full state. So now I have to put an input message down below, because if I just click OK, the input message doesn't come up. I got to actually have additional information. So click on the data validation and type something down here, so it actually brings up the title, because without a message down below, the title doesn't show up. And click OK. There it is. And then I can go ahead and try to type something in Utah without just the 2 letters, hit enter, and I get my warning. I'm going to click cancel and then just type in UT, hit enter, and we're fine. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel, get notified of the latest videos, and for only $2 a month, you can have access to all my Microsoft Office training videos.